Hello and welcome to our live stream, a live stream that will help you improve your English and take it to the next level. If this is your first time watching, why, why are you laughing?
I just had a thought there. I'm sorry, because when you're saying this live stream will help you improve your English, we're talking about food today. So I was thinking, and it's going to make us all starving and we're going to get fat.
Lynn, you've completely thrown me off my well-prepared introduction.
Sorry, start again. Let's rewind.
Hello and welcome to the live stream. If you haven't seen us before, we'll introduce ourselves. My name's Craig. I'm a teacher and I write a lot of material for the website mansioningles.com, which is aimed at Spanish speakers of English. And we have a podcast called Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig. If you're interested in listening to that, you can find it here at inglespodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Very good.
And
podcast.
I haven't finished yet. Thank you.
No, I just wanted to say it's a very good
Okay.
podcast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Lynn. We've just published episode 500. So
wow.
We're very proud of ourselves. And if you're interested in practicing your speaking, you could visit the website englishcraig.com because next week, February, we're going to start a new course and you're very welcome to join if you're interested. We have 2 different levels and the course is designed to help you with your confidence, with your fluency, and with speaking English, because a lot of people have problems when it comes to actually speaking and communicating. So that's me, and joining me today is my good friend Lynn. Hello, Lynn.
Hello. I'm very talkative today. I've been naughty interrupting you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm feeling naughty. Right. So my name is Lynn. My website is putitlikethis.com. I'm an online English teacher and I specialize in tailor making courses depending on your specific needs. So, for example, some people may be working in business and they might want to prepare a particular presentation or an interview. Or maybe you are looking to get a qualification in English and you want to do some exam training. I specialize in all of the Cambridge exams. And some people like conversation and want to learn English maybe for holidays or for just communicating in their jobs or whatever. So depending on your needs, I'll tailor make a course for you. So if you want to find out more information, you can go to putitlikethis.com.
Putitlikethis.com. Definitely worth checking out. So as Lynn mentioned right at the beginning, we're speaking about food today. We hope it won't make you too hungry.
Glorious food. Food, glorious food. We should maybe say where we got our title from. Where does that title come from, Craig?
A book
do you know?
Yes, I think I do. A book by Charles Dickens called Oliver Twist, about the boy who grew up in an orphanage and the food was really bad, but he was so hungry that he went with his bowl and he said, "Excuse me, sir, can I have some more?" So the boy who asked for more. And there was a lovely song in the adaptation to film and theatre called Food, Glorious Food. Is that right, Lynn?
Yes, that's right. Perfect. And it was very well expressed. I'm glad you explained it like that. Well done. And I'm very excited because I love talking about food. Do you love talking about food?
I do. I prefer eating it, but I love talking about it. And we've divided this into 2 sections, sweet and not sweet. If food isn't sweet, we tend to call it savory food. And we're going to start with sweet food. But before we list some sweet food for you and hopefully show you some new words and vocabulary that you can use to talk about sweet food, we would like you to tell us, well, first, if you're watching, who are you and where are you from? Just say hello if you're watching in the chat. And secondly, what types of sweet food can you think of? So please let us know that you're watching, say hello, and then tell us what kind of sweet food you enjoy. I don't think anybody's with us yet.
Yes, no, Agustin has just come in. Hello, Augustine.
Justin, good to have you.
Uh-huh. Maybe they're all eating. Do you think they're eating?
It could be. It's dinner time here in Spain, isn't it? So they could be
It
eating.
is. Well, maybe we should start with some vocabulary to do with sweet food. How about that, Craig?
Yeah,
Yeah?
let's put the vocabulary up.
Mm-hmm.
My
Okay.
favorite, biscuits and cookies. What's the
Are they your
difference then between?
favorites? Are they
I
your
love,
favorites?
I love dunking cookies
Ah,
and
okay.
biscuits in tea. To dunk is when you get a biscuit and you put it in something hot like tea or coffee, and the tea and coffee goes inside the biscuit and makes it soft and lovely.
You like doing that, do you? I
Oh, I
used
love
to do
dunking.
that when I was younger, but I don't do that now very much. Maybe we should mention as well the pronunciation of the word biscuit, because when people see the UIT, sometimes people try to say things like biscuit or something like that, which I think is like a French word as well and a Spanish word as well, biscuit. But we don't say it like that. So we say biscuit. So just ignore the U and just think of it biscuit. Biscuits and cookies. You asked me what the difference was,
Hmm.
Craig.
Yeah.
I think cookies is American English and
Hmm.
biscuits is British English. Is that right?
Yep. That's right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm not a fan. I'm not a big fan of biscuits. Occasionally, I fancy a biscuit. We say I fancy. Fancy means that you have an appetite for it. So sometimes I fancy a biscuit, but I'm not a big fan of biscuits, really. Although I do make Christmas biscuits. At Christmas, I make biscuits and eat them. Uh-huh.
Oh no, I eat biscuits all year round. Not every day, but I
Mm-hmm.
love a biscuit with a cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
The next one we've got is hot puddings. Now, I don't know if you would use pudding as a way of saying dessert. I know in some parts of the UK, if you say what's for pudding, you mean what's for dessert. What are you going
Mm-hmm.
to have after your meal? But for me, a
Mm-hmm.
hot pudding is a type of dessert, and it could
Ah,
be
okay.
a Christmas pudding, it could be a bread and butter pudding, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a particular type of dessert. Is that
Mm-hmm.
how you would see it or
Well, it's true.
not?
I'm from the north, so we tend to also use the word pudding for, well, where I'm from anyway, maybe in other parts of the north, I'm not sure, but where I'm from, we tend to use it like you. So a pudding is a type of cake that is usually steamed. So it's the way it's cooked is it's cooked over boiling water and it's the steam that cooks the pudding. So there are some very traditional British puddings like treacle pudding and bread and butter pudding that you talked about, and then of course the very famous Christmas pudding.
Hmm.
But there are, as you say, I had friends who used to use the word pudding for dessert. And actually, this is my favorite because I love hot desserts. So, desserts that are served warm or hot, not cold desserts. And I really miss that here in Spain, actually, because it's not very common to get a hot dessert in Spain, is it? I think all the
No.
desserts are usually cold, possibly to do with the weather as well, because you really fancy a hot pudding in Britain. But hot puddings for me are things like apple pie and then custard, which is a word we have in the second line, custard, custard. And that's like a sauce and it's yellow and it's made with eggs and egg yolks and a little bit of cream, sometimes in custard. And we tend in Britain, we pour custard, hot custard, over lots of hot desserts. So, and I really like hot puddings, I have to say.
Yeah, yeah, me
You
too.
like them?
And Augustin in the chat here from Mexico, he says that Mexican food is amazing. And in Mexico, we love mixing sweet and spicy, which I don't. I don't like the idea of
Oh, do you
mixing.
not?
I think you either it's sweet or it's spicy. Preferably
Uh-huh.
have something savory, which is not sweet. Maybe
Hmm.
it's spicy, maybe it's not, but it's not sweet. Have that first and then have something sweet for dessert after. That's the way I like to eat my
You don't
food.
like, well, I usually do what you do, but I am partial. I am partial to. That means sometimes I like it. I am partial to maybe sweet. I like Chinese sweet and sour pork. I like that.
No.
And I do like some of the Mexican food that is sweet and sour. I've had that before, and I do quite like that. But I'm not sure. I don't think I'm used to eating that kind of food all the time. So I think probably I'm more traditional, like British, like you are, in that you have your savory first and then your sweet later. Mhm.
Lynn, where do you stand on putting pineapple on a pizza?
Oh, I like that. But
Oh,
that's because I like sweet and savory, you see. I do
yeah.
like that.
See, that's a no-no.
And
That's a big no-no with me.
I like gammon. It's a very common meal in England too. Gammon with pineapple. Gammon is
Oh,
pork,
yeah.
hot pork with pineapple. I do like that.
Not for
And
me.
I like meats that are stuffed at Christmas. Sometimes you get nice joints of meat, and it's stuffed with things like plums and dates, and um, plums, dates, figs, or nuts. And I really like that too. Or apricots, for example, with meat. I like that a lot. Hmm.
I'm putting all these words in the chat.
Hmm.
Lovely vocabulary here. Figs, dates, apricots. Hello, Paloma. Welcome. And
Hi.
Paula, good to see you as well. We're talking about food, so we hope
Uh-huh.
you've had your dinner. Otherwise, we're going to possibly make you very hungry.
Hmm.
So we've spoken about hot puddings. Cakes, I think, is obvious. Chocolate cake, fruit cake.
Hmm.
Mousses, chocolate
Mm.
mousse, I like
Hmm.
very much.
I like
Um,
it, but I only like homemade mousse. I have to say, I don't like all the
yes.
commercial mousses that you buy
No, me
now.
neither.
They're
Because they
also
don't taste of what the flavor is. There's no flavor.
no.
It's all synthetic. It doesn't taste
Uh-huh.
nice.
I don't like those, but I like homemade mousses very much. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Mhm.
me too.
Mhm.
Cupcakes, very small cakes, like in a cup. So they're small
Mhm.
and round
They're very
usually.
popular now all over the world, aren't they? I think they used to be sort of, I mean, when I was a little girl in British, it was a very British thing to have little cupcakes, but somehow in America they're really famous. And then they got into all of this thing with decorating them very with lots and lots of things on top. And I've seen
Mhm.
cupcakes in many countries now. So so probably everybody knows cupcakes. Uh-huh. I don't think they're very healthy now, the way they make them. I
No,
think when
probably
I
not.
used to eat them when I was little, they were they were healthier. Uh-huh. Mhm.
And more people are coming in. Hello, Sheila. Good to see you. Hi, Eva.
Hi.
Have you
Hi,
tried
Eva.
the Basque burnt cheesecake?
Mm.
Yes, it's very, very nice, and it's not too sweet. Yeah, I do like that, Eva.
I
Um,
like cheesecakes, Eva,
mm,
but I don't think I've tried the Basque burnt cheesecake. I
it's
know
lovely.
the no, is it? Oh, I'll have to
Mhm.
try that then. Very easy to make. I'll have to have a look. Okay.
Oh,
The-
Christine hasn't been here for a while. Hello, Christine. I hope you're well. Happy New
Hi,
Year.
Christine. Hi. She
Good to
must have
see you.
heard there was food coming.
Yeah, you
It is
smelt
nice to see you.
you smelt the live stream. We're talking about food.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And Paula's
Okay.
from Peru, and she said that they have really tasty food. I don't really
Mm.
know a lot about Peruvian cuisine. I'd like to eat
Yeah.
more of it. I don't really know many dishes from Peru, but I've heard it's very good. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, well. Uh-huh. And then we get to scones, or do you say scones?
I say scones. It doesn't matter, scones or
Do you?
scones. You say
There's two.
scones?
I say scones. There are
There you
two
are.
pronunciations from that:
Yeah.
scones or scones. Now, I like scones. Do you?
Um,
It's a very British thing, isn't it? A scone.
I'm not crazy about them. I like them
No.
with like real thick clotted cream, really thick cream, and
Right.
homemade jam.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but a scone on its own, not really.
Oh, I like scones with butter.
Mm,
Scones in if people don't know what scones are, it's a very British thing. And it's kind of like it's like a sweet bread, really, isn't it? And you can make them with um raisins and sultanas in them, or you can have them plain, that's without anything. Or sometimes people make cheese scones and they put cheese in as well,
Yeah.
which is a little bit savory. When we have cheese scones, they're savory, they're not sweet. But if you go to Britain, to the UK, if you go to have a traditional English tea, they will always serve you scones, usually, won't they? I think. Mhm.
That's called a cream tea. If you ever have
A
the
cream tea.
opportunity to have a
Mhm.
cream tea, they
Mhm.
don't put cream in the tea, but they will serve you a cup of tea with milk and sugar if you want it. And also, usually, scones with whipped cream. That's another word in our vocabulary list there. Whipped
Mhm.
cream. When you whip the cream, you beat it and it becomes very thick and
Mhm.
delicious.
Mhm.
What else do we have here? Danish pastries.
Ah.
Not originally from Denmark, apparently. I think they're originally German, and
Uh-huh.
I think they were because a lot of Danish people moved to Germany, and in particular bakeries in Germany, Danish chefs invented this pastry. And pastry, you can probably describe it better than I can, Lynn. Is it a mixture of flour and eggs and
Yes, and
water?
some fat as well. Uh-huh.
Mm,
And Danish pastries, you see them in many countries on breakfast buffets, and it's kind of like bread, but they're very sweet. So sometimes they have raisins in them, sometimes they have icing on the top. So they are very, very sweet, and people eat them for breakfasts usually, don't they?
yeah.
Sometimes they're in whirly shapes and
Mhm.
things like that. They're usually covered with a mixture of this, like a sugar water, which is put over them, and then it crystallizes. So they are very sweet, Danish pastries.
I think that's called a glaze. Let's put that in the chat.
Glaze, that's the
Glaze.
word. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. I didn't have
Sugar
the right word
water.
there. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then we've got pies. Now, pies can also be sweet or savory. You can have a meat pie, which is
Hmm.
pastry with meat, and the pastry is usually on top. And then if it's sweet, it might have fruit in it. So you could have an apple pie, very
Hmm.
American dessert, or any fruit pie. And
Hmm.
pies can be sweet and savory. And then we've
Hmm.
got crumbles. The verb to crumble is to separate into small pieces. So if you have a crumble dessert, it could be an apple crumble, it could be a rhubarb crumble. Then
Hmm.
on the top of the fruit, the boiled fruit in the oven, there's this sweet, crumbly, biscuit like topping that gets lovely and toasty. And
It's
crumbles are
baked in
very,
the
very
oven.
nice.
It's baked in the oven, and it's a very sort of. It's not a flat pastry. It's like he says, lots different pieces on it, and it's lovely, very nice. I like those too. Gâteau. Now that's a French word that has come into the English language, isn't it? Gâteau,
Mhm.
and a gâteau is a cake essentially, but usually it's a one with lots of cream and it's very high, like more decorated, isn't it? It's a lighter cake. It's lighter. Gâteau is lighter than a normal cake because
Yeah.
it has more cream. It's made up predominantly of cream, I think, isn't it? Gâteau.
And
I'm not
my
a fan of gâteau.
No,
What
you're
about
not.
you? No.
Not really, but I do like Black Forest Gatto,
Do you? Uh-huh.
which has obviously chocolate in it,
Uh-huh.
and cream. And yeah, if it's a well-made Black Forest Gatto, yeah, I'll
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, a flan tends to have a soft, spongy base, doesn't it? And then fruit on
Yeah.
top.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a false friend because if you're a Spanish speaker, a flan is not really pastry at all or cake. It's a flan is like a mixture of milk and egg. But that's not the case in English. In English, a flan is a very light cake base with fruit on top and cream on top. I hate them. as well. I don't like
Yeah,
those.
I'm not a fan.
Not a
No.
fan of that. No.
Let's look at what people are saying. Eva says that better cupcakes than scones. Yes, I agree with that.
Hmm.
I prefer a cupcake to a scone any day of the week. And
Hmm.
there's a Basque gâteau. I haven't had that.
Hmm.
I wonder what that's like. A Basque
Hmm.
gâteau. Okay.
And if I remember, sorry, if
With
you just
cream
go
and
back up
jam.
again with the Gateau Basque, remember that when you've got an adjective of nationality, it always goes before the noun. So really, you would say there's a Basque Gateau too. Uh-huh. Just remember that adjectives before the nouns. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
And okay, and then we've got whipped cream, which you've described already. Cream. Uh-huh.
Custard.
Custard, which I described earlier. Ice cream. Everybody knows ice cream, don't they? I think.
Hmm.
Gelato. Isn't that Italian? For
Gelato.
ice cream, which is where it comes from, I think, isn't it? Ice cream.
Hmm.
Sorbets, which don't have cream in them. They're a cold frozen dessert, but it's just with fruit and
Oh,
chocolates.
well, before we move on from sorbet, what's your opinion of, when you go to a nice restaurant and
Hmm.
between courses, they'll give you a sorbet
Oh,
as a palate cleanser to
yes.
cleanse or clean your palate, your mouth. So
I've
I,
never
I
experienced that in England, but I did experience that when I went to a French wedding. Oh, I thought it was
okay.
marvelous. I loved it.
You liked it, did you?
Yeah, but the thing is, the meal went on for 6 hours. So
Yeah,
the
that's
meal was taking 6 hours.
yeah.
So after each course, there was quite a long time before the next course. And then that just sort of, I mean, that's the way to have it. I think you need to have a long time between the courses, and then the
Mhm.
sorbet does its work. But if you're eating within an hour, I wouldn't like to have a sorbet between. But you don't like it, no?
Well, I never really understood it, I suppose. Maybe that's my
Hmm.
ignorance, but I've been to restaurants where they serve a sorbet in
Hmm.
between courses, and I instead I just have a couple of gulps of water, and that
Yeah. Hmm.
cleanses my palate for the
Yes.
next dish.
Yeah,
But
I think so. Uh-huh.
anyway,
And then the very last word, everybody knows it, but if you are here today, please repeat after me. Chocolate.
two
2
syllables.
syllables. Chocolates. Even the plural
Chocolate.
is 2 syllables, right? None of this chocolate. No, not in English. Chocolate. Chocolates. Uh-huh. Okay, so that's very important, the pronunciation of that. But I think everybody knows what chocolate is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Should we move to savory, from sweet to
Yeah,
savory?
I
So
prefer savory. Do you like sweet or savory better? You said sweet, didn't you?
I have a sweet tooth. We've got that idiom coming up later, but I
Mhm.
have a very sweet tooth, so I much prefer sweet food to savory. I mean, if I had to choose,
Mhm.
yeah. But you're more of a savory person,
Yeah, I'm more savory, I have to say. Right. So come on then, please tell us. You've given us lots of sweet things, cream and jam and flan, and can you tell us some savory foods that you can think of?
so what's popular in the Basque Country ever for savory dishes? What would you choose in a
Mhm.
restaurant for savory food? We've got some
Christine's like
ideas here.
me. Christine's saying she's definitely more into savory. That's a nice phrase as well, everybody. More into. If you are into something, it means that's what you like a lot. So she's definitely more into savory. Me too. Mhm. Oh, Ava has put cake in green sauce. Yes, that's nice. I
I've
like
tried.
that.
Yeah, I've tried that. I didn't like it very much.
You
Sorry,
don't
Eva.
like that?
Sorry,
Oh, I
no.
like that. But it has to be done well, and it has to be
Yeah,
good cake. Uh-huh.
it's a
Okay.
traditional Basque dish, I think.
Is it? I didn't know it was
Yeah.
from Basque. My mother-in-law taught me how to make hake in green sauce, and she makes it really nice. Okay. Ignacio has said, uh,
Both for me, sweet and savoury, says Eva.
okay,
Ignacio
there you go.
says jacket
Jacket potatoes. I think you wanted to put a T there rather than a D. Jacket potatoes. Now, jacket potatoes are nice. They're also very English, aren't they? You get them a lot
Yeah,
in Britain. Jacket
very common.
potatoes.
Baked beans,
Mm,
cheese. What
mhm.
other fillings are there in a jacket
Oh,
potato?
all sorts now. If you go to a
Sweet
place in
corn.
England and you buy them, chili, you can have chili con carne on it. You can have, they put everything on jacket potatoes now. I like my jacket potato. My favorite is with sour cream and chives.
Yeah, you are savoury, aren't you?
I
Yeah.
like a jacket potato with sour cream and chives. Chives, maybe people don't know what chives are. We haven't got that in there. It's sort of a plant, and they are long green shoots, and it tastes like onion, but it's a little bit milder than onion. So it's green and it's usually chopped into tiny little pieces. In Spanish, it's called cebolina. Cebollina. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And in German, Schnittlauch. But I know it in lots of languages because I love it.
Yeah, cebolino in
Yeah.
Spanish. Yeah.
Hmm.
So no, if I had to choose a filling for a jacket potato, I would probably go with butter with maybe some toasted cheese on top.
That's also nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you eat jacket
Um,
potatoes here? I do quite often. My
some
family like
not
them.
often, not often.
My
More mashed potato. We tend to eat mashed potato
okay.
quite a lot,
Mhm.
but not so much jacket because they don't really. It's hard to get big potatoes here where
Mhm.
we go shopping. Anyway,
Mhm.
moving
Okay.
on. So we'll show you some that we thought of beforehand.
Mhm.
Savory food. We've got stews. A stew
Mhm.
is kind of like a soup, isn't it, with different vegetables and meat and
Meat. It's a
yeah,
little bit more a soup for us is sort of light, like not as dense. So a soup might have little bits in it. Maybe a fish soup has small pieces of fish in it, or it could be like a puree, a soup. But a stew has lumps of things in it, doesn't it? So it has pieces of potato or pieces of carrot or lumps of meat or chicken or beef or lamb. And
mhm,
usually a stew is cooked for a long time, very slowly. That's usually, isn't it, with a stew? I love
yeah.
stews. Uh-huh.
I like, and I'm not, yeah, I don't like soups, but I do like stews, especially Irish
Mhm.
stew if it's got meat in it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Lovely, yeah.
Mhm.
Pies and pastries. We spoke about pies before with sweet pies. You can also have savory pies with meat
Mhm.
inside or vegetables. And it's
And fish,
interesting
I
because
like fish pies too.
oh,
Mhm.
of course, fish pies,
Mhm.
yeah, is another one. We were talking in the class just before the conversation class about, pasties because somebody said empanadilla, and I
Mhm.
think the closest we've got to an empanadillo and empanada is a pasty, right?
Mhm.
Or a
Yeah,
savory pie.
I think so too. I mean, if you make a big one, then we would probably call it a pie because
Yeah,
sometimes in Spain they have these big empanadas. And if you have the big one, we would call it a pie. But the ones that are sort of semicircles that you can hold in your hand and eat, that we would call that a pasty. Mhm.
and they're very famous Cornish pastries from
Mhm.
Cornwall in the southwest of the UK, that are
Mhm.
very, very nice Cornish
And their
pasties.
filling is, what is it? It's mashed potato and meat, isn't it, in a Cornish pasty? And some vegetables? Or is it
Yes.
not mashed potato, chopped potato, isn't
Chopped
it?
like chunks, but I
Chopped
think you
a
can get
chunk.
different fillings. I think there's a fish
Mhm.
one as well because
Mm.
Cornwall being
Mhm.
so close to the sea.
Mhm.
But yeah, pasties are
Mhm.
very common in the UK.
Mhm. Yep.
What does Ignacio say? Roast beef,
Oh,
definitely.
lovely. Yeah,
With
I like
roast
that.
potatoes, vegetables,
Mhm.
lovely on a
Mhm.
Sunday. Yep.
Mhm.
Where are we? Rice dishes, very common in
Mhm.
Spain, of course, and other parts of the world. Rice dishes like paella, for
Mhm.
example,
Mhm.
risottos,
Risottos. Uh-huh. Yeah.
pasta dishes, noodles, very common in Asia. Fried noodles, boiled noodles, cooked meats, and stir fries. If you have a wok and you're frying on very high heat and stirring at the same time. That pronunciation's quite tricky sometimes. Stir, it's a very long sound. Like turn or learn or burn. Stir, you stir your tea, and you stir fry vegetables and meat in a wok.
And then we get to my favorite, which is,
Snacks.
and this is also very bad for me. I'm terrible with savory snacks. So I love crisps. I could eat crisps every day, but I shouldn't. And I don't because I know it's bad for me. Salted nuts. Oh my God. How lovely are salted nuts?
What's your favorite nut,
Once you
Lynn?
enjoy salted nuts, how can you eat normal nuts again?
Okay, you're in the supermarket. You've got a shelf of salted nuts.
I buy
What
them all.
nut do you go
I
for? What's your
I buy
favorite?
them all every week. I buy pistachios, I buy cashews, but my all-time favorite, which I don't buy very often because I know that I will finish the entire packet too
Peanuts.
quickly, is salted peanuts. I love salted peanuts. And in my healthy self, like sometimes thinking, Lynn, you can't eat crisps and salted nuts all the time. Then I started at the age of 48 to acquire the taste of olives, which I'd never liked before. But now
Mhm.
I do eat olives and I feel healthier
Yeah.
when I'm eating
Yeah.
my olives. And pickles, I like pickles, and they're better for you. I think they're better for you. Pickles are things like they're like little gherkins, and they're put in
Cucumbers,
vinegar,
onions.
cucumbers, onions, and they're put in vinegar, and then they're very small, and then you eat them on a stick.
Mm.
And I like pickles, but nobody in my family likes pickles, so we don't normally buy them. But I can eat pickles. If I eat pickles, though, I have to have alcohol.
What's interesting, I mean, my sister and I are very, very different, but nothing makes the difference more obvious than the fact she loves pickles. Anything pickled,
Wow.
olives, gherkins, pickled onions, and I don't, and I would much rather go for sweet things like chocolate,
Hmm.
and she always goes for the savory stuff. We're completely different
Hmm.
in that respect. So
Ah.
Eva's getting hungry. That's good. We're making you hungry. Um, where are we going now? So
Shall I
if
confess something really bad before I came on the
you
live
had some
stream?
peanuts,
I no, I I had a very wicked thing that I eat, which is wicked means very naughty. And this is my biggest sin. Shall I confess my biggest food sin on the live stream?
go on then.
All right. Well, if any of you, I think some of you are from Germany or you know Germany. In Germany, they have a variety of crisps, which are called Funny Frisch, and they are paprika flavored crisps. So they're quite spicy. They're extremely bad for your health, I'm sure, because it must be, it's just a piece of, I mean, the original thing is a piece of potato, but then I think it's got like 100,000 additives on it, right? And when you start eating them, you can't stop. And my really wicked pleasure is to have those crisps with a little bowl of sour cream, and I dip them in the sour cream and eat the sour cream and the funny fish chips. I say chips, that's the German word for it. In English, we say crisps, which is a very difficult word to pronounce, isn't it? Crisps, because it's
Crisps.
got lots of consonants in it. So like cricket. So the crit at the beginning is like in cricket, but the end of it is SPS. So you have to say crisps. You might want to try that. Not with the crisps in your mouth while you're trying that, otherwise they might go everywhere.
And one expression that's quite common when Lynn was talking about the fact that when you start eating them, it's really difficult to stop. You can say that they're very Moorish. I've put that in the
Moorish.
chat.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Moorish. If
Hmm.
something's Moorish, then you want more. You want to eat more of it. So when you start
Ah,
eating
okay.
peanuts, You don't
Mhm.
say that? It's very Moorish?
No, I've never heard that. No, very
Oh,
Moorish. Oh,
interesting.
I like that.
Okay.
Addictive is what I would say. But it's like it's the same, isn't it? Moorish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ever says that 5 consonants and 1 vowel in crisps
In the word crisps.
is a
I
hard thing
think
to
the
swallow.
sign of a confident English speaker is somebody who can say chocolate with 2 syllables and crisps.
And
Isn't it?
vegetables.
And vegetables. You can wear a badge of honor saying, I know how to pronounce English, if you can say those 3 words.
Don't eat crisps, eat vegetables and chocolate. Say it with me. Don't don't eat crisps, eat vegetables and chocolate.
Mhm.
Now, let's look at some comfort food. What's comfort food? Well, comfort food is something that you eat that gives you comfort, something that you eat when maybe you're feeling a bit sad, or you need some food that's going to put its arms around you and make you feel happy. What's your favorite comfort food? Can you write that in the chat and
Yeah, write it
tell
in the chat.
us?
Mhm.
Here's some
I
examples.
I kind of already told you mine with my chips, with my crisps and my sour cream. What's yours, Craig? What's your comfort food?
Chocolate and biscuits.
Ah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And preferably chocolate biscuits. So having those two together with a nice cup of tea is definitely comfort food. I also really like ice cream.
Mhm.
So comfort food very often is ice cream. I don't know why. If you watch an American movie
Yeah,
and the
they
girl
get a lot.
and the guy, they've broken up, they're not together, and they're crying, and very often they'll go to the freezer, take out a big American bucket of ice cream and sit there eating it.
Mhm. I'm not that. I don't use ice cream as comfort food, but you're very lucky because your wife makes the best chocolate cookies and brownies in the world, doesn't she? I know
Well,
because I've
I'm
tasted them.
biased, but thank you for saying that. But I am
But she
biased. So
does. I have never had a brownie like the one that your wife makes. So
very
I
kind of
know
you.
that you have that really, really, it's lovely comfort food. Another comfort food that I have, which is actually savory, is made by my dear mother-in-law who is a fantastic cook. And it's, I don't know how you would say this in English. In Spanish, it's the caldo. How would
Broth,
you say that? Broth.
broth,
That's it. Broth. That's the word. Sorry, I forgot that word. Broth. And my mother-in-law makes the most amazing broths
fish or meat.
and meat broths. And it's a very clear one. But when I have that, I feel so she calls it the repairing broth. And it's true when you're very, very tired and stressed and you have that and you just feel that you've been born again. It's lovely. I love broth.
Mm.
Mhm. Do you like that or not? You're it's maybe too savory for you, is it?
Yeah, I mean, my wife makes a really nice soup with a broth that she makes herself, and then she
Mhm.
puts noodles in it and bits of
Mhm.
ham and bits of chorizo and some noodles and what else does she put in? Oh, and an egg.
And an
So
egg, yes,
the
so
egg
she put
like
that.
boils
Uh-huh.
in the broth,
Mhm.
and that's really nice to eat with bread. And that I
Mhm.
really like that, yeah. But I'm not
Mhm.
really a soup or broth eater that much.
Mhm.
Not
Ava, can you pop up Ava's comment? Ava's asking, do we use the word consommé for that? Now, I think we do, Ava, but in very sort of in restaurants, maybe they would put the word consommé on the menu. Do you think? Because it's from French, isn't it? Consommé.
Yeah, I'm just googling it
Uh-huh.
because I honestly don't know. But yeah, it says it's a type of clear soup
Clear
made
soup.
from
Uh-huh.
richly flavored stock or
Mm-hmm.
broth that
Mm-hmm.
has been clarified.
Clarified, that's it, and that is consommé, and that's the one that I like. Uh-huh. Whereas sometimes broths in England are dark, aren't they? Like Scotch
Hmm.
broth from Scotland is with vegetables in it, but consommé is like a clear soup. Uh-huh.
And
And
apparently, I didn't know this, but the process they use to clarify the soup is egg whites to remove the fat and the sediment.
Oh, well, we don't do that. I like the fat. It's the fat that makes me feel good in the
Yeah.
broth.
Iberian ham is good comfort food. Yeah,
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
definitely.
Ignacio though has got an even better one. He says you have to have a cold beer with classical Spanish tapa with the
Mm.
Iberian ham. Yeah, that's true. And you don't have to cook anything, Eva says, and that's right. Yes, I go with you, Nacho. You can you can give me a beer and some Iberian ham anytime.
You drink the beer out the bottle, and there's no washing up.
Yeah, and you just,
Perfect.
mhm.
Irish stew,
Mhm.
very nice. We
That's a
mentioned that
nice
earlier.
savoury food, and you like that, Paloma, yeah? You've had Irish stew. Mhm. That's usually made, I think, with mutton, isn't it? Lamb or mutton.
Yes, yeah,
Mhm.
traditionally, and
Irish stew
potatoes and
and
vegetables.
potatoes and
It's really
vegetables. Uh-huh.
thick, really dense. It's really
Mhm.
fills you up.
Mhm.
Great winter food. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Mhm.
Well, what's your favorite comfort food? If you haven't mentioned your favorite comfort food, please write it in the chat and we'll share it. Your
Mhm.
favorite dishes.
Mhm.
Shall we move to the idioms?
Yes, let's move to the idioms because they're interesting, aren't they?
Yeah, got some idioms for you to finish off with, all connected obviously with food. You might know this one, to have your cake and eat it, which does sound a bit obvious. If you have your cake, well, of course you can eat it. What does it mean, Lynn?
Well, it's actually it's a tricky idiom, this one, because in actual fact, it doesn't mean what Craig has said. Because it looks obvious that you have your cake and then you eat it, but
Yeah.
we use that expression when you're trying to do two good things at the same time, but it's impossible to do both things at the same time. So I thought of an example for this because you really need to put it in context. So, for example, the example that I found was, it said something like, if you want more public services, you can't expect to have tax cuts.
Mm, that's a good
So
example.
if you want more public services, you can't expect to have tax cuts. You can't have your cake and eat it.
So we often
That's
use
the
that in
way
the
we would
negative,
use
don't
that.
we?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's often used in the negative. You can't have your cake and eat
Uh-huh.
it. You cannot.
Mhm.
So another example, if you wanted to have two jobs, you have two offers of two jobs and you accept both of the job
Mhm.
offers, thinking you can manage to do two jobs, but then you realize it's impossible. You can't
Mhm.
have your cake and eat it. You have to choose one job or the other job.
Oh, the other one. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's a strange, I have no idea where that idiom comes from because
Mm.
it's so contrary, isn't it? It's I can't imagine. I'm thinking of somebody getting a birthday cake, like somebody giving somebody a birthday cake and then telling them they can't eat it. You can either have a birthday cake or you can eat some cake, but you can't have both,
You can't
which
have
makes
your
no
cake and eat
sense.
it.
Makes no sense. But it's a tricky idiom, but it means you can't have your cake and eat it. It means you can't have two good things at the same time because it's impossible to have
There's
both things at the same time.
Yeah,
Mhm,
there's a similar idiom here. Maybe we should do these two together. To bite off more than you can chew.
mhm,
Now, to bite is when your teeth come together to put the food into to break the food into pieces,
mhm.
and to chew is where you're dissolving the food in your mouth. You're doing that with your mouth
I'm
and
doing the
breaking,
mime while you're talking.
breaking breaking down the food more so that you can swallow it. So the
Mhm,
idea of biting off more than you can actually chew or have in your mouth is you take on too much responsibility. You try to do too many things. For example, if you have two jobs, well, yeah, I mean, the salary is lovely, but if you have to work 16 hours a day working two jobs, maybe you've bitten off more than you can chew. It's too much for you.
mhm. Remember, bite is irregular. So it's bite, bit, bitten. So usually we use it to we use that idiom when we're trying to reflect on something that somebody has done. And that's why usually it's always in the present perfect. You've bitten off, you have bitten off, you've bitten off, we connect it, you've bitten off more than you can chew. Because it's often like that, isn't it? Like that somebody looks at what you're doing and then they reflect on it and they say, oh, you've bitten off, or he's bitten off more than he can chew.
Yeah. So you could, in theory, have those two idioms together. You can't have your cake and eat it with two jobs. You've bitten off more than you can chew.
Yeah, that's true.
Going back for 1 second to comfort food, Paloma says, for a heart warming on a rainy day.
I think she was referring to the Irish stew. The
Oh,
Irish stew
yes.
is for heart warming on a rainy day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
And there was another. Oh, no, let's do these in order. Otherwise, I'm going to get into a mess. So the next one we have in order is a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake in British English. In American English, they're more likely to say it's a piece of pie. And it just means it's very, very easy. It's very easy. For example, learning to ride a bike was a piece of cake for Lynn. She mastered it in just one afternoon. Easy, very easy. Piece of cake.
Piece of cake it was.
Learning phrasal verbs is a piece of cake, isn't it?
Learning English is a piece of cake when you're English.
Another one, we mentioned this earlier, to have a sweet tooth. I definitely have a sweet tooth. Although what's interesting is we don't say to have a savory tooth, do we?
No. But we do say to have a sweet tooth.
Does anyone in your family have a sweet tooth?
Do you know, I don't think they do really. I'm thinking about my parents and my sister. None of us really have a sweet tooth. We're all quite savory lovers. And I think it's the same in my family now, with my children as well and my husband. I mean, we eat sweets, but not a lot, but more savory. True.
Okay. Speaking of cakes, the icing on the cake. We mentioned icing before when we were talking about Danish pastries and cupcakes having icing on top, like a sugary coating on the top of the cake. But what does this mean as an idiom, Lynn, to be the icing on the cake?
So the idea is when you're describing something which is better than you expected, right? So for example, let's take so imagine you looking for a new job. We'll go back to the job thing. You get a job and you're really happy because you finally got the job that you love and that you want to do. And then maybe on your first day, the boss says, oh, by the way, we're also increasing your salary. And then you might describe that event to somebody and say, oh, I got this new job. And the icing on the cake, I get more money as well. So it's like, it means that you have some, because you can have a normal cake, which is just standard without any icing. But if you have icing on the cake, it means it's even better.
Exactly.
So if something's the icing on the cake, you're saying this is the even better bit that I had. Okay.
Okay, very good. To bite off, we've done that. Too many cooks spoil the broth. Now, we've spoken about broth, and it's like a soup when you boil down pieces of the fish or pieces of meat and bones. You filter it, you sieve it, and you end up with a liquid that you can drink like a soup. Too many cooks spoil the broth. What does that mean? Well, too many people trying to do one thing could not give you a good result. For example, if you're trying to do a group project at work, you can say, if there are too many people trying to do it and it wasn't successful, then too many cooks have spoiled the broth.
Too many cooks spoil the
It was
broth.
a
Too many
disaster.
people are
Too many
involved.
people.
and then it went wrong. Spoil means to make something go wrong.
Mhm.
Okay. I love this one. Do you use this one? I use it a
My
lot.
dad used to use it for
Uh-huh.
me when I wanted, like, 2 pieces of cake, not 1, and then I didn't
Then you
finish it,
felt sick.
and I felt sick, or yeah, I asked for too much food and I didn't finish it. Your eyes are bigger than your belly,
That's
or
right.
too big for
So
your
it's
belly.
usually when somebody has eaten too much, and then if they complain afterwards and they say, "Oh, I've eaten too much," and then somebody would respond to them and say, "Yeah, your eyes were too big for your belly because your eyes took in more than your stomach could cope with."
Have
I
you ever
like that
been to
one.
those buffets, all you can eat buffets, where you
Oh,
pay one
hmm
one set amount of money and you can eat as much food as you want to?
yeah.
That's a typical situation that I would bite off more than I can chew, and my eye's too big for my
For your
belly.
belly. Yeah. I don't like those at all. They were very popular. They used to be very popular in New Zealand. And when my family first went to New Zealand and to live there, like 30 years ago now, I remember visiting them, and then it was very common to go to these buffets, and it was one price. And I used to see people with plates, and they had
Piled up like that,
everything on
yeah.
them. So, like, all sorts of different types of food as well. So they might have roast beef, but then they might have curry, and they might have chili, and then when they got their desserts, fortunately they changed the plates. They would get a plate, but they would have gatto, and they would have apple pie, and they would have biscuits, and they would have flans, and they would have scones, and it was all
Mm.
on the plate. And I have to say, I never did that because it makes me feel sick when I see that. Just when I see it all together, my eyes tell my belly that's not for you.
I think they're called open buffets. If it's an open
hmm
buffet, you can
Or all
eat
you can eat, all
all you
you
can
can
eat.
eat buffets as well. hmm
Yeah.
hmm
This one, I must admit, Lynn, I think you added this. I've never heard of feeling full as a gun. I've heard of
Have you know, full as a
feeling
gun?
stuffed, but
Uh
not
huh.
full as a gun. So what
Ah,
does it
okay. That
mean?
was well, that was very, very, very common when where I'm from to say, "Oh, I feel full as a gun." I don't know. I suppose a gun, when it's loaded with bullets,
It's
is
heavy.
full.
Yeah.
It's heavy, and so when you feel full as a gun, it means you're heavy. And yeah, and you've eaten too much. And another way is to say stuffed. Stuffed. You're feeling stuffed. Stuffed is a common word. Stuffed is sometimes also for food. You can have stuffed peppers, stuffed turkey. Stuff is when you put something inside a cavity or a space. That's to stuff. Your pillows that you sleep on at night, they have stuffing in them. Inside
And
the pillows.
you can also stuff a turkey at Christmas, and that's another
hmm
time of the year that you might feel as full as a gun after
Always.
Christmas lunch, Christmas
hmm
dinner.
hmm
Yeah, you feel stuffed.
And definitely stuffed. Uh-huh.
And the last
Okay.
one we've got is to be off your food, which
Oh,
is probably the opposite of feeling as stuffed. When you don't
uh-huh.
feel like eating, maybe you're sick, or
hmm
you're not hungry, you don't feel like eating. You can say, I'm off my food. I'm not eating. I'm just not
Means you have
hungry at the
no
moment.
appetite. You have no appetite at all. You're feeling maybe a little bit ill, really, when you're off your food. You've lost your appetite. hmm
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well, those are the idioms we've got for you. Let's go through them again quickly, shall we?
hmm
To finish up. So, to have your cake and eat it is to want to do too much. For example, you think you can manage too many things at once, but then you realize it's impossible. So you can't have your cake and eat it. You have to choose one thing or the other thing.
hmm It's a piece of cake. Another word for that is easy peasy. It means it's really easy. Sometimes English people say also easy peasy, or it's a piece of cake. It means you can do it with ease, and it's very simple, and you have no difficulty with something. Mhm. Sometimes people say that
Oh,
about exams, don't they? They say,
yeah,
"How do you feel about your exam?" "Ah, I'm not worried. It's a piece of cake." Means it's
yeah.
easy, that
How
exam.
how was your driving test? Oh, it was a piece of cake. I passed with
Mhm.
flying colours.
There's another idiom. Mhm.
To have a sweet tooth, you like sweet things. You like things like chocolate and desserts and ice cream. To have a sweet tooth, and the opposite of sweet food, savory.
Mhm. To be the icing on the cake means when you say something is the icing on the cake, it means it's even better than you expected. It's an extra, something perfect, something extra special. That's the icing on the cake. Mhm.
To bite off more than you can chew, to take on too much work or to take on too many tasks, and you just can't manage. You just can't do it all because you've taken on too much.
Mhm. And too many cooks spoil the broth is when you're trying to do a task, and if too many people are involved in it and they end up making a mess. It probably would have been more efficient if only one or two people did it. That then we use the phrase "too many cooks spoil the broth." Mhm.
Your eyes being too big for your belly at the open buffet, you pile your plate, too much food on your plate, but you can't eat it because your eyes are bigger than your belly. You're too
Mhm.
greedy.
Mhm. And feeling full as a gun. I'm not feeling full as a gun right now. I think I'm ready to eat.
Me
Feeling
too.
full as a gun, or when you're stuffed, is when you've had too much food. But I'm beginning to feel quite hungry now after all this food vocabulary.
Can we ask one final question before we go?
Yeah, let's ask one final question.
Just because I thought it was quite funny. If you were stuck
Mhm.
on a desert island, what
Ah.
would you take with you to eat? Now, it can be savory, it can be sweet. So you're stuck. It's usually a desert island, but I'm trying to be funny by saying desert
Uh-huh.
island.
Just
What
maybe
would
to
you
point
take
out to
with you?
people, desert, i.e. the Sahara Desert, where all the sand is only with one S, right? So desert is the Sahara, and dessert, which is a different pronunciation, double S, is obviously the sweet. So Craig is making a joke.
Yeah, nothing like a joke you need to explain. What would you take with you? I think those chips that you mentioned, the German crisps that you mentioned earlier, that are spicy, that you eat with sour cream. Did you say? Is that what you would
Yeah.
take to a
Well,
desert
no,
island?
because it's not a desert. It's not a dessert, is it?
It's not a desert.
No, it's not a dessert. It's not a dessert. The
It's a
crisp and the
snack.
schmand is a snack. It's not a dessert. A dessert, if you're asking me for a dessert,
Go on then.
then probably, oh, I have to have a think about that. Dessert. What dessert would I like to take? Yeah, I think I would like to take rhubarb crumble and custard.
A nice winter dessert.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think I would take my wife's Mississippi mud pie.
Oh, I haven't had that. She hasn't made that for me.
Ah. Well, she's sitting over there. She's probably listening if she's not watching the TV. So I'll ask her to make you one.
Yeah, tell her, me and everybody else who's listening tonight, we have a Mississippi mud pie.
And then you can all go around to Lynn's place and have a piece of Mississippi mud pie.
No, I'll give you the funny fish with with the sour cream. And
Um,
what would you take, Craig? What would you take on a oh, you just said the
Mississippi
Mississippi.
mud pie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Now,
probably.
what would you take if you were stuck on a desert island? There's a different question. Because if it was a desert island, that's the little island where there's
Oh, you mean
nobody else
food?
with. So what food could you absolutely not live
Not live
without,
with,
sorry.
without. That's a good question. Um, oh, I don't know. I think I would probably go for grilled salmon with fried potatoes.
Oh, that's unusual.
Unusual
Uh-huh.
choice, I know, but
Mhm.
I really enjoy salmon when
Mhm.
it's grilled with
Mhm.
some lovely crispy potatoes. And you?
Oh, wow. Me, cheese. I couldn't live without cheese. So I would take cheese. And if it's possible, I would take cheese and wine because that's a nice combination.
I'll tell you who's watching who has the best cheese,
Ah,
in my opinion,
who's
in
that?
her area, and that's Eva, who lives in the Basque
Ah,
Country.
in the Basque
And
Country.
she
Uh-huh.
very kindly sent me Idiazabal cheese once, which
Oh,
was absolutely fantastic.
uh-huh. Ah, well, I like cheese, any type of cheese. I can eat all cheeses. Uh-huh. But I couldn't live without cheese. I get withdrawal symptoms if I don't have cheese every day. So
Okay, well, I think
okay.
we will say goodnight and go and eat something. What do you think?
Mhm. I think that's lovely because I'm hungry now. So just quickly then, my name is Lynn. I'm from putitlikethis.com. I'm an online teacher and I do lots of different types of courses. And if you're interested in working with me, you can go to putitlikethis.com and see the types of courses that I offer. And Craig?
That was very short and sweet.
Yeah, it's
Um,
because I want something to eat now.
uh, I would recommend you go to the website mansioningles.com to learn English for free, especially if you're a Spanish speaker. And if you haven't listened to our podcast, I do a podcast every week with my co-host and ex-colleague Reza. And you can listen to that at inglespodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you're interested in joining me and a small group of lovely people in February to have English conversation and fluency practice and get your speaking up to where it should be, then don't send me, go to the website englishcraig.com. You'll see a button to book a free Zoom consultation, no obligation. We'll speak together for about 10 minutes. I'll get an idea of your level, and then I'll give you all the information about the conversation courses. We'll be back, I think, in 2 weeks. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Same time, 2 weeks' time. Uh-huh.
So until then, thank you for listening. Go and eat some food, and
Yeah.
we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye.
Take care. Bye.